Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug. Streaming live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is @DougPless. Here are the key tenets to my approach for trading. This is the basis of my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures, and certainly in large cap tech stocks, the Mag 7 stocks that I follow and trade, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, SPY is the ETF version of that index, and ES, the futures contract, is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. If the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index, and NQ, the futures contract, is a derivative of NDX. And just like the S&P 500, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is positional analysis, or planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. And setups in that asset can be taken any number of ways. For example, the S&P 500 setups can be taken with ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, SPX options, or even ES options. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel and Discord, as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. And hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here. Hello, everyone else. Welcome. Glad you're here as well. All right, here's my agenda for today. Monday, May 13th. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, and events for the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. And then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's start with news items, economic data, events, and earnings. Actually, the only earnings that I'm following are for Nvidia next week. So let's take a look at economic data and events. So I'm going to take a look. This is the new Spotgamma dashboard. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. I'm going to take a look at the events calendar here. This is highlighting high impact events. Actually, I've gone out a little bit further than this week. So let's just take a look at this week. So a couple of key events. First of all, tomorrow, PPI comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then Jerome Powell is speaking at 10 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, there are two data reports, retail sales and CPI at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. CPI most likely will be the most important data release for the week. And then on Thursday, building permits at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. All right, so those are that's the news items, economic data, and events for the week. All right, also note there are a number of Fed speakers every day this week. All right, let's move on now to positional analysis. I'm going to start with the SP 500. So let's go to the ES Futures and Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I want to take a look at a higher time frame. I'm going to go to the underlying index, SPX, and note that my Thinkorswim did roll over, finally switch from TD Ameritrade to Schwab over the weekend, so I had to rebuild a lot of charts. Only the basics came over, so a lot of my customizations were lost. So I spent yesterday evening and a good bit of this morning rebuilding Thinkorswim. All right, so this is the chart that we've seen before, one-day chart in Thinkorswim, 5-month rally, beginning end of October last year, and then the correction began April 1st. So now let's move to a 1-hour chart. Let's go to a 30-day 1-hour chart. So this is showing after the April 1st correction began, and then the rally resumed on the Monday after April options expirations. So the Friday expiration was on 4/19, and the rally resumed the Monday after on 4/22. Very typical tone change after an expiration. All right, let's take a look at levels on this chart. First of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. That's based on the options market. And those levels remain in place for the entire week. Again, based on the options market, the closing price for SPX from last Friday. Then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move. It's also based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. And note that SPX is trading within both of those ranges. Katinga says they advised me to save the TOS workspace. Mine ported safely with no change at all. That's great. I save my workspace every day, and that did not seem to help. I think I've had a little bit of an issue with usernames, multiple accounts, usernames, and that may have been my problem. So anyway, I lost watch list, customizations, and I had saved a lot of that separately. So it took me a few hours to rebuild, and maybe a good cleaning out of years of stuff build up in Thinkorswim. All right, so anyway, I'm good to go. All right, so that's the expected moves, weekly and daily. Now let's take a look at the Spotgamma levels on this chart. These are the dark red lines. These are Spotgamma levels that are provided to Spotgamma subscribers. They're available on a variety of trading platforms. This is Thinkorswim, and this is a 30-day 1-hour chart. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, 5,000, that is the put wall. That's a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. Not in play right now. And the next level up is 51.95. That's the volatility trigger, VT. And that is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. Above that level, like SPX is trading right now, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And just above that at 5,200, that is the absolute gamma strike. That's a strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. And then finally, the call wall is now up at 5,300. That's a strike with the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. And note that level did move up from Friday, from 5,200 up to 5,300 now, so giving SPX more room to run on the upside, more room to move upside based on that higher ceiling. So the potential floor for price at 5,000, the put wall, potential ceiling at 5,300, the call wall. So the call wall did move higher, and the volatility trigger also moved higher as well. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart so we can get a closer look at the levels in play for today. So this is about four days worth of data. So let's zoom in on the most recent data. Actually, I need to zoom back out so we can see some levels. All right, so this is, we'll zoom in. So 3.5 days worth of data. So this is just showing the levels in play for today. So SPX is trading up above this cluster of levels. Volatility trigger 5,200 absolute gamma strike, shown with an L1 there, and then the lower daily expected move. All right, let's move on to Bookmap now. So trading in a very narrow range today with a slight, with a downtrend. SPX making a series of lower highs. All right, so here's Bookmap. In Bookmap, I have my own cloud notes. So I can show SPX levels. And I'm also showing SPY levels. So here are a couple of levels. This 52.15 noted as support in the AM Founders Note, Spotgamma AM Founders Note. So I have SPX levels on this chart, also SPY levels. There's the SPY 520 absolute gamma strike volatility trigger. All right, so let's take a look at so far the levels in play for today. Primarily the ES, upper daily expected move. Uncle suggests something about taking a look at old workspace files. I'll take a look at that later. Thanks for the information. All right, so the upper daily expected move, this is for ES. I do calculate this independently of the SPX, upper daily expected move, acted as resistance. Now SPX trading below VWAP for most of the day after this drop lower in the morning, making a series of lower highs. Did test this 520 level for SPY, and this looks like just another pullback for this downtrend. We'll take a closer look at setups in just a minute. All right, so note, again, I have SPX levels, SPY levels, and key ES levels on this chart, all in one column. Note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX. And I'm using 23 today, so the ES to SPX offset, ES minus SPX, is 23. That's what I'm using today. So this 52.15 is shown at, that's SPX 52.15 shown at ES 52.38. All right. Excuse me, let's move on to NASDAQ. So this is the NQ futures and Bookmap. And let's take a quick look at the underlying index charts. First of all, we'll go to QQQ. So here's QQQ. Zoom in just a little bit here. Resistance at the open at 444, and that C3 level just below that at 443.83 acted as resistance. And then the volatility trigger for QQQ at 442 acted as support. All right, let's also take a look at NDX. And we'll see a cluster of levels in play for today. And that's right here, the $18,200 level. That's the absolute gamma strike and the call wall. And just above that, now the put wall back above the call wall. That situation was resolved last week, and now the put wall is back above the call wall, and definitely acting as resistance today. All right, let's go to NASDAQ. So again, in NASDAQ, I have my own cloud notes, so I can show QQQ levels, NDX levels. There's this cluster of levels, the put wall 210 and absolute gamma strike call wall at 200, acting as a magnet for price, or price is really focused on that area. Note the point of control, that's this purple line right here, is right in the middle, right at the, just about at the 18,200 level. And there's 210 put wall acting as resistance. And here's this QQQ 442 volatility trigger near the low of the day. All right, we'll take a look at setups in a few minutes. All right, so let's wrap up our view of our positional analysis with taking a look at gamma notional. And I'm going to go to the index metrics right here and take a look at gamma notional for the SP 500 and NASDAQ. Note, with the exception of SPY, these numbers are positive. In a Spotgamma assumes for an index, in a positive gamma environment, traders are short calls, market makers long calls, hence the positive gamma, and they have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. And these numbers all did shift lower from Friday, and SPY shifted from positive to negative. Otherwise, other numbers remain still positive. So most likely today, given the data coming up and the events for the rest of the week, is kind of the calm before the storm. All right, so that is the data that I look at for my positional analysis based on this. First of all, I was looking for lower volatility, the index with the SPY is neutral, the others are still positive gamma, looking for more of a trading range. And based on the the shifts in levels being higher, and I forgot to mention, I only mentioned SPX for SPY. Volatility trigger call wall also shifted higher. So the call wall shifted higher for SPX and SPY, and also same shifts higher for QQQ. Volatility trigger call wall shifted higher, and for NDX, put wall and absolute gamma strike shifted higher. So for all four, SPX, SPY, NDX, QQQ, all four had two shifts higher in levels. So that's basically bullish. That would lead to a bullish thesis and not really confirmed with price action today. All right, so that was my thesis for the day. And now let's move on to execution. So that is all based on static data. Now let's move to real-time data. I'm going to start by taking a look at what options traders are doing. This is the hero signal in Spotgamma. Hero is HIRO, Hedging Impact Real-Time Options. So what this chart is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity. I'm going to start with the SP 500. So this is the combined signal of SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures, all in one combined signal. This is the traditional signal that has been around for quite a while for the SP 500. So again, showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. There are two lines on this chart. First of all, the white line is price for SPX, and the purple line is the hero signal, showing options trades and market maker hedging activity. A falling hero signal indicates traders are taking negative delta positions. They are buying puts and or selling calls. And a rising hero signal indicates they are taking positive delta options positions. They're buying calls and or selling puts. All right, there is one other signal. This is new for the SP 500. This is the S&P equities. And what this is showing is a combined signal or aggregate signal of all 500 stocks in the SP 500. So this is like the Mag 7 signal plus 493 other stocks. So let's start with the SP 500. Seemed to provide a little bit better signal today. So I'm going to zoom in on this chart now. Zoom in. All right, so looking at the open, there's a flow alert right at the cash open. Sorry, that slipped out of the way. Anyway, there's a flow alert right at the cash open. Traders immediately began taking negative delta positions, and price responded lower. All right, so let's go take a look at Bookmap now. Let's go back to ES. And zoom in. All right, so we know that from the open, from the cash open, traders are taking negative delta positions. Now let's look at the clues here in Bookmap. First of all, the upper daily expected move. Right there, a level that I assume that will act as resistance. It did its job. Price broke lower. The volume dots in Bookmap are showing market buy minus sell. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. Magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. Overall, there were more magenta volume dots, aggressive sellers as price moved lower. And let's take a look now at the subchart. In the subchart, all three lines are falling. So this dark blue line that shifts to magenta is cumulative volume delta. And the line turns to magenta when that cumulative volume delta shifts from positive to negative. So that's falling, cumulative volume delta. And the light blue line, that's iceberg orders. Large traders are selling that move lower with iceberg orders. So they use iceberg orders to hide their size. And then finally, the yellow line, that's stop orders. That's falling also. That's showing that sell stop orders are fueling that move lower. So also, altogether, very bearish setup in the S&P 500. Traders taking negative delta positions and very bearish order flow in the S&P 500 ES futures. And ES was making a series of lower highs. All right, let's move on. So the nice move lower, and then kind of a quick move lower at the open, and then a grind lower after that. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. Somewhat similar pattern at the open, but NASDAQ has recovered. Instead of grinding lower, it looks like it's trading in a range between 442 and the 18,210 put wall. And just like the S&P 500, all the lines in the subchart basically moving down. Cumulative volume, delta, icebergs, and stop orders. Let's go take a look at Hero and see what options traders are doing. Zoom back out. All right, so for the NASDAQ, there are also two signals. This is the original signal. This is the combined signal, the NASDAQ signal, combined signal of NDX and QQQ. And then this new signal, MAG7, which is what I primarily use for the NASDAQ, showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. These stocks make up a very large portion of the NASDAQ 100 and often drive price. So we can take a look at either signal. Let's zoom in and then we can compare. All right, so that's the MAG7 signal, basically moving down from a few minutes after the cash open. NASDAQ also moving down at the cash open. Let's go back to the MAG7 signal. So this is showing price for QQQ in the white line, and the Hero signal for the MAG7 stocks in the purple line. And remember, the NASDAQ, after that move lower, was trading at a range rather than trending down like the S&P 500. All right, so let's go take a look at Bookmap now. NASDAQ 100, there's this quick drop. Zoom in. Aggressive buyers on the way up. Resistance at 444, just below the upper daily expected move. Aggressive sellers come in. Cumulative volume delta drops. And you can see all the magenta dots on this move down. Pullback entry right around the 210 put wall. And then sell stop orders also fueling the move lower. Note as a difference between the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, large traders were fading this move with iceberg orders shown by the rising light blue line. They were buying on the way down. That's more typical of large traders with iceberg orders. Buying weakness and selling strength. All right, so there's NASDAQ, quick move lower, and then chop between 442 and the 18210 put wall. Hello, Dave. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, let's take a look at some stocks now. I'm going to start with Apple. Nice bullish day here in Apple. There was news before the market opened about Apple and OpenAI. At least CNBC was reporting that Apple is coming close to an agreement with OpenAI. I don't know any more details about that. So let's see what options traders are doing in Apple. Go back to Hero. I'm going to shift to puts and calls, and we'll see what that means in Apple. All right, so the orange line is showing calls. A rising orange line indicates traders are buying calls. When the traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. Note the flow alert that comes in right after that call line starts to move higher, just after 10:20. And that was a nice breakout above the 185 call wall. And the blue line, that's also rising, but it's not as significant as the call line, obviously. So rising orange line, traders buying calls. Rising blue line indicates traders are selling puts. But again, calls, note the notional value here is about 10 times greater for calls than puts. 335 million versus 33 million, but both positive delta. All right, so let's go back to Apple here. 185 call wall. Price launches off that level as traders start more aggressively buying calls. Note all the green volume dots coming in. CVD shifts from negative to positive. Caesar says, oh man, I was in a trade in Apple but got caught in the chop, so I closed it for break even. But seeing the hero signal, I would have stayed in it. Never really dropped. Yeah, Caesar, you need to subscribe to Spotgamma. There's a lot of great information here. If you trade stocks regularly, I think it provides significant edge. All right, so that's Apple in the news. Also note the chart pattern here, this wedge pattern. And Apple breaks out above the 185 call wall and VWAP that's shown by the light blue line. And you can see the clue before, all these aggressive buyers coming in, all the green volume dots, and then Apple takes off as traders start buying calls. Also that flow alert signaling the move higher. All right, so that's Apple. Nice bullish day in Apple. Let's take a look at Amazon. And just the opposite in Amazon. Let's see what options traders are doing. Go to Amazon. Zoom in on the morning. So just for a couple minutes, traders were buying calls. Then right around 9:38, something like that, they started selling calls. And then they started buying puts as well. So after about 10:30, both the call line and the blue line were moving in the same direction down. That's a very strong directional indicator. Note the flow alert does come in when both signals align going down. Let's zoom out. And note that traders start buying calls, let's say around 11:20, and then they stop buying puts and start selling puts about 30 minutes later, and Amazon finally stops dropping and consolidates as options traders have shifted from negative delta to positive delta. All right, so there's that move lower. Quick move lower, traders selling calls. Put buyers join the party. Amazon moves lower. Then options trades shift from negative to slightly positive, and now Amazon trying to recover. All right, let's take a look at Meta. All right, this is something in this chart is not very typical about Meta. Well, this drop lower and then the move higher, but this interaction with this 470 put wall is has not been seen very often in Meta recently. More often there's been a interaction with the call wall rather than the put wall. All right, so let's see what options traders are doing first. So let's go to Meta. All right, note from the open, zoom in on this. And Caesar asks, do you upload stock levels daily or just the ES? So Caesar, if you mean, do I show the Spotgamma levels on my charts, I update the Spotgamma levels for ES and NQ every day. And then over the weekend, the levels for stocks come out on Saturday. So the equity hub, Spotgamma equity hub that shows the levels, that is updated over the weekend. So I have time to show the Spotgamma levels on my chart. I may not have time later on in the week. So after today, the Spotgamma levels for stocks will come out in the morning, just like the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. So I may not have time. I do try to update the Spotgamma levels on a few stock charts every day, particularly Nvidia, something that I watch and trade quite frequently. So over the weekend, I did have time to update the Spotgamma levels for Meta, Microsoft, and Nvidia. All right, so and the way that I do that, I've talked about before. I get the levels from, for the case of stocks, for Equity Hub, Spotgamma Equity Hub, and I update my price line spreadsheet. I wish there was an easier way to do it. All right, so let's get to Meta now. So from the open, zoom in on this a bit. Traders were just a couple of minutes after the coast opened. They started selling calls, started buying puts. Blue line, orange line moving in the same direction, and Meta moves lower. And note here the breach of the put wall. In recent weeks and months, there's been many more breaches. Meta has breached its call wall much more than the put wall. But anyway, Meta did find support briefly at the put wall, then moved lower and continued to move lower until options traders took their foot off the gas. They stopped buying puts, started selling puts. They stopped selling calls, started buying calls. This was just before 10 a.m. and then Meta rebounded. So that pattern is pretty typical for Meta. A move lower or higher, quick move in one direction or another, and then a reversal as options traders shift from negative to positive or positive to negative. All right, so anyway, let's see now what happened at the put wall. So the put wall was breached and then acted as resistance. So let's go take a look at Bookmap. All right, so the quick move lower, you can see all the magenta volume dots, aggressive sellers in Meta. Breach of the put wall, price rebounds as traders started taking positive delta positions, and then the 470 put wall acted as resistance. And now price is oscillating around VWAP, which is pretty flat. All right, let's take a look at Microsoft. Pretty similar pattern for Microsoft. And let's go take a look at Hero. Let's go to Microsoft. Zoom in. All right, so in the case of Microsoft, the call wall has been in play. Zoom into the morning. From the open, traders selling calls, shown by the falling orange line. Flow alert. Microsoft opened above the call wall, moved lower. So traders were selling calls, buying puts. Blue line, orange line moving in the same direction. Price moves lower. Then just after 10, actually the put line shifted to neutral before 10, right around 9:50. And then the call line shifted from negative to neutral to positive. Note this vertical line here. That's showing a large block order, institutional order of call buyers. So large institution comes in, buys calls. Looks like they're adding here these vertical lines. These are, again, large block orders. All right, so let's go take a look at Microsoft in Bookmap. $4.15 call wall, quick move lower. Now price recovering as traders are taking positive delta positions. Trend line break just above the call wall. And you can see all the magenta volume dots coming in. Aggressive sellers. And a trend break. Price moves lower. Let's zoom in on this. So I've been watching this market pulse indicator as well. And note the price lines. This is the price change indicator, making a series of lower highs as cumulative volume delta was dropping. All right, so that's Microsoft. Trend break after the move lower. Traders take positive delta positions. Trend break just above the call wall. Aggressive sellers coming in. Now the call wall acting as resistance. All right, let's take a look at Nvidia. Similar pattern. Quick move lower at the open. Let's see what options traders are doing on Nvidia. All right, so at the open, chop, and they were actually selling puts and selling calls, and then as this call line starts to move sharply lower, Nvidia drops. Traders were selling calls, and the put line was relatively flat compared to the call line. This flow alert comes in this case, after this move lower, potentially signaling a shift in the call line. Also, the put line was still increasing. All right, so anyway, call sellers driving the price lower. Let's take a look at the total signal. I'm going to have to jump. Go back to Nvidia. Sharp move lower. Price moves lower. Then maybe around 9:48, traders stop taking negative delta positions. They start buying calls and selling puts, and Nvidia recovers. 900 is the key gamma strike. Price makes it all the way back up to 910. Note the liquidity in that level. This is the heat map and Bookmap showing a history of the limit orders in the order book. For stocks, these are limit sell orders above price, typically come in at the cash open and stay in the order book until they're filled. Absorption at that level, and then Nvidia breaks lower, back down to the 900. $900 call wall, key gamma strike. Let me check that. Give me just a moment. That's not correct. 950 is the call wall. I thought that's what I remembered. So 900 is the key gamma strike. 950 is the call wall. So I have the wrong label there. All right, so that is Nvidia. And let's take a look at Tesla. All right, in Tesla, 170 is the hedge wall, key gamma strike. Launching point for a long this morning. 175 call wall. Doing its job, acting as resistance. All right, Katia is asking, says Bookmap shows large green dot at the open for Nvidia, but it's still dropped. Let's go take a look at that. Let's zoom in. So Katinga, so the opening print, that's right there, right around 905. Yeah, definitely bullish. Green doesn't last long. You can see the aggressive sellers start to come in. Just a few minutes later, maybe around 940 or so, and Nvidia drops below below 905, below VWAP. The trend break there, so aggressive sellers start to come in, and the buyers were exhausted pretty quickly. And remember, traders started taking negative delta positions. So I don't necessarily pay much attention to that, the opening print. So we can so we see for Nvidia it moved lower at the open with a green opening print. Here's Tesla opening print, magenta, and price shot higher as aggressive buyers. So quickly the sellers were exhausted. And you can see here, sellers quickly exhausted, small magenta volume dot, and aggressive buyers starting to come in. Let's zoom in on this. All right, so that makes it a little bit more clear. Magenta volume dot opening print. Sellers quickly exhausted. Aggressive buyers come in. And Tesla moves up quickly above the 170 hedge wall key gamma strike all the way to the 175 call wall. Let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go to Hero. Take a look at Tesla. So options traders are taking positive delta positions from the open. Flow alert comes in right around 9:35, get your attention. And options traders take their foot off the gas as Tesla reaches the 175 call wall. So a great long setup in Tesla. And now Tesla grinding lower as options traders shifted from very positive, aggressively positive delta to slightly negative delta. Let's go back to Bookmap. All right, does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? Oh, Caesar wants to take a look at GameStop. All right, so let's take a look at GameStop. So the original meme stock is back. Let's zoom in. So I was looking at this morning. There were multiple halts, which made this a little bit difficult to read and a little bit difficult to trade. So this is multiple halts, GameStop, yeah, this might have been one too. All these gaps in price, looks like 5-minute halts. All right, let's see what options traders are doing on GameStop. We'll go to, let's do a comparison first. Let's take a look at Nvidia. This number is very small. Usually Nvidia is, the notional value is in the billions. Typically notional value, again, over 1 billion for Nvidia. But let's take a look at GameStop for comparison. 3.3 million. Looking at this right here, so pretty small compared to Nvidia. And you can see, let's zoom in here. You can see the halts in GameStop as well. So a little, with all those halts, I think GameStop was pretty difficult to trade. Those halts may not have been as visible on a candlestick chart as they are here on Bookmap. Caesar says, that's incredibly light. The thing is probably over with numbers like that. Yeah, I agree. So GameStop was interesting, but I thought there were better setups in Tesla, Meta, and Microsoft today. All right, WRB asked, do you work silver, gold, etc.? Does Bookmap cover and or Spotgamma? So Bookmap, yeah. So with Bookmap, you can trade futures. You need a subscription to, I think, Comax for gold, and I only subscribe to CME, and that's all. So that's on CME. I have ES, NASDAQ, and Bitcoin futures that I use for correlation with Coinbase. Those are all in the CME exchange. Otherwise, GLD, SI, I'm not sure what the SLV maybe. So we can take a look. I don't have any of the precious metal stocks in Bookmap, ETFs in Bookmap. We can take a look and see what options traders are doing. Here's GLD. So there is some flow here in GLD. Sharp drop lower, right around 11. After chop in the morning. Surprised there was not another flow alert here. That would be typical of a breakout pattern. To see this two close together levels, that's indicated an indication of chop. And then again, with a sharp move, I would have expected to see one more flow alert indicating a breakout, or in this case, a breakdown. Let's take a look at SLV. So kind of a choppy price action. Overall net negative notional value. Let's check on the indexes, see what they're doing. S&P 500 continues to grind. Looks like options traders are coming in, taking positive delta positions. So remember, gamma notional is positive. Not looking for a big trend day, looking for more mean reverting price action. Let's take a look at Mag 7, also moving higher, and definitely choppy range bound price action. Again, remember that's price for QQQ. Go back to ES, still grinding lower. NASDAQ, point of control, right, still at this cluster of levels here. All right, so the best moves, let's just take a quick look, I thought were in with the biggest range. Meta, move lower, aggressive sellers, resistance at the put wall, very unusual. Microsoft, breach of the call wall, trend break, now back down to VWAP. Tesla, aggressive buyers just after the open, sellers exhausted, traders taking positive delta positions, take their foot off the gas at the 175 cut wall. Tesla makes a very neat series of lower highs, lower lows. Then looks like a double bottom here at 171. We'll see what options traders are doing in Tesla, and then we'll call it a day. Wrong tool. Double bottom, 171. Let's see what options traders are doing. Go to Tesla. All right, so it looks like the hero signal. Let's zoom in a little bit on this. Looks like traders have started to take positive delta positions again with a rising hero signal. All right, so an eventful morning and then kind of a grinding afternoon. All right, everyone, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you very much for your questions and comments. Remember, tomorrow PPI data comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and possibly more importantly, Jerome Powell is speaking at 10 a.m. CPI data on Wednesday, also retail sales, and then we'll talk about it on Wednesday afternoon. All right, everyone, have a great afternoon. Thanks for your questions and comments, and I will see you on Wednesday. Thanks. Bye.